Hi, I'm Jessica Stutzman from Millcreek Township.
And I'm Chantel Rodriguez. Welcome to the Millcreek Government Channel.
Today we are pleased to welcome Paul Lukach, Executive Director of the Crime Victim Center of Erie, who is here to talk with us about how they support victims in our community. Thank you for joining us, Paul. I'm so excited that you're here.
Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you again for taking the time to speak with both of us today. To get this started, we're just going to start the question as far as what is the mission of the Crime Victim Center?
Yeah, so the mission of the Crime Victim Center is to protect people who've been affected by crime and provide services that provide hope, help, and healing. And we do that in a variety of ways. First of all, we offer crisis counseling. So we are available with a crisis hotline 24/7. Anytime, day or night, you're going to talk to a real person. And that's especially important for rape and sexual assault cases, that we are there. We are going to accompany you to the hospital, to the police station, to any safe place where you need to be to tell your story and to get the immediate services that you need. Beyond that, we're going to do counseling with you. We're going to talk about what happened and how to handle it. And we're going to offer you opportunities to maybe go through the justice system if you want to do that. You don't have to, but that's a course that we help you to manage, and then we become your advocates in the courtroom and provide you with all the services that go along with that. We also do a whole lot of restitution and victim compensation work, which means if you are going to go through the justice system, and you have a loss because somebody damaged your property or they caused you physical harm, or there are other external circumstances that cost you out-of-pocket expenses, we don't want you to have those out-of-pocket expenses. So we're going to make sure that we justify those, what those values are, and we're going to submit them into the court documents so that when sentencing happens, a judge can say, these things have to be paid back.
Yeah.
The perpetrator has to pay these things back. That's restitution. Victim compensation is a little more complicated. It doesn't necessarily need a trial or a judge to make a decision, but you do still have to kind of comply with the justice system, file a police report, those sort of things. But the bottom line for both of those programs are to make sure that people don't have out-of-pocket expenses when bad things happen to them. The other really robust program we have is prevention education. And obviously, if we can prevent crimes from happening in the first place, especially child abuse, which is on the rise, and we per capita in our county are way higher than most counties in Pennsylvania, which is
Wow.
really tragic.
Yeah.
So we want to do as much prevention education as we possibly can to keep those things from happening. And we are in every grade school, every high school, every college, community centers, senior centers, to help people understand what is crime, how to be aware of it and avoid it, but also how to report it safely.
And how long has your organization been operating in Erie? I feel like, I see a lot of your
Yeah.
billboards, and that is great messaging to get out there.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to touch on how long you've been around.
52 years.
Wow.
Started as a
Oh my
total
goodness.
volunteer organization by that wonderful woman, Joan Martin, who I just think is is a hero in our community and one of my personal heroes. And saw a need for this service, and then it grew. The first thing this organization did under Joan's leadership was to protect women and children who have had sexual assaults and rapes. That was, like I said, it was a total volunteer organization. She sort of told people they were going to help her do this. And as laws changed, and as the feminist movement happened in the 70s, and as good legislative initiatives happened, we were able to become a more formal organization with a well-seasoned, well-trained, paid staff to continue to do these services. We also became a comprehensive center, which is why we changed our name from Rape Crisis Center to Crime Victim Center, because then we were able to serve all people affected by any type of crime, not just sexual assault and homicides or child abuse, but also home invasions, car invasions, stolen identities, bullying, all of those types of things. So every type of crime in the crime victim code, we will serve those victims and their families and loved ones.
That's incredible. Are all of these services free?
If you are a client of ours, all the services are free. We do sometimes ask for a stipend or a donation if we do specialty prevention education programs, because those often aren't covered by our state and federal statutes, but we feel that that's really important to do. So sometimes if a large group comes along, LECOM uses us a lot to say, hey, we need your services, and we'll give you a stipend or a donation to make that happen. So we are very appreciative of that. But if you are a victim of a crime and you are using our services in any capacity, you will never see a bill. There's never a charge. That is something we do to make sure that you're made whole.
Wow.
Yeah, and something like that is crucial to the community. I mean, there's so many people, like you mentioned, that are affected in our area that need services like this when it comes up.
Absolutely. And a lot of times people don't even know it until they get that letter in the mail from us, because a police report has been filed and we send a letter and say, hey, gee, I'm so sorry this happened. Here's what we can do for you. Please give us a call. Please come in at least to talk to us about the options.
And perhaps you don't know the answer, but is there any reason why Erie statistically is higher than the rest of the country?
As far as child abuse goes,
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just not reaching all the people in Erie County. I think we have a vast diversity, which can be a healthy thing for a community. But I don't think we're reaching all the people who really understand that. I also think that there is a generational thing.
Yeah.
This happened to me, so now I feel like this is how I'm going to treat my children, and so forth and so on. And so we need to break that cycle of trauma, and that takes a long time. And especially when families are so secretive and so well at hiding those things, it's hard to get to those people, which is why we need more people to come to our prevention education classes, especially parents in the know and mandated reporter training, so that the community understands what that looks like and they can make the appropriate calls just to say, I don't know if there's something going on, but this looks strange. And that's how we'll get the message out. The more people who know about our services, the more people who go through those prevention training programs, that will be what lowers child abuse. The other really important thing we need to do, and I'm starting to try to network with other agencies who do prevention work, like the Children's Advocacy Center
Yeah.
and the Department of Health and the county programs, that we all need to be working in the same vein, speaking the same message and using the same language. When we have euphemisms for body parts, that's not helpful, because people have misunderstandings then. They don't understand what that child may be trying to say when they're trying to seek help from a trusted adult. So we are trying to put together a whole learning mechanism that everybody can buy into and be a part of, so that we're moving forward in the same direction and we're speaking the same language, and that will also greatly help reduce the child abuse claims we have.
And I think breaking that cycle, when you become a new parent, having that language and those tools, one of the things, I'm not a big hugger, and I think everybody knows it. And, you don't want to have to, let your grandma give you a kiss
That's right.
or somebody give you a hug. And so I was very adamant with my daughter and with the rest of our family. She doesn't want that, and that's okay. And
Yep.
everybody else has to respect it too.
That's absolutely right. And we have a program for kiddos called My Body Belongs to Me, and that's all about that. And we've even arranged that so that even teenagers and even young adults can understand what that message is in a proper language, because that is so important. I have control of my body. I have autonomy of my body, and if I don't want to kiss or hug somebody or be around somebody, that's my right. And it doesn't mean I'm being rude or being mean. It's just how I feel. And those are messages we need to get out to everybody in our county. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
and talking about the services and programs that you offer, what's involved in the beginning stages of that counseling or therapy that you offer at the Crime Victim Center?
Yeah, so typically what happens is something bad happens to somebody and they get to us. We have a lot of partners who try to get clients to us because they've heard the stories, the DA's office, the police, different other social service agencies. But we really want a person, if they're 18 or over, we really want them to call us, because we want them to be invested in
Yeah.
the services, and that they're choosing what they want. And we really want to try to put that person back in charge. If it's a child or a kiddo and a parent or a loved one or somebody responsible for that child's calling, again, we are going to work on the level of the child, but we want to put them in charge. We want that client to be in charge of what they want to disclose, how they want to disclose it. And our first stance is to believe. Most people don't lie about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for them to talk about something bad happening, because in our society, we say, you should be able to take care of yourself. You should be able to say no, especially boys. You should be tough enough. You should be able to beat up that potential perpetrator. That doesn't always happen. In fact, that rarely happens. So we need to undo those stigmatisms, right? First of all, and we need to believe that child, that adult, that story. And we need to take it from there to say, okay, here's what we can do for you. How do you want to proceed? We also know that when we remove trauma from a person, when we get to that level, adult, a child, a senior, they re-engage in life in a very new way, in a very positive way. So we become also an economic engine, because if we can keep people in their community, in their jobs, in their homes, in their schooling, everybody wins.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there too, that it's not just, oh, we feel good and we have all these skills and we can, help people. We're an economic engine. We put people back into life, and that's good for the entire community.
Yeah, you're making real change. You're changing people's lives and getting them reacquainted with life the way that they know they should be living.
Exactly.
Especially after dealing with something so traumatic, in most of these cases. So it's really something amazing that you're all doing for the community.
And I imagine when they walk back out into the world and again they have your support, that they're feeling more confident, and I would imagine that they share the message.
I hope so, because that, word of mouth is still the best advertising, for anybody, for anything, for any agency. And so I'm hoping that happens, that they're brave enough then to say, I was helped and I see you need help. Let's get you to the Crime Victim Center.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And Erie is such a small city, but like big city mentality.
All connected. Everybody's connected in one way or another somehow. Yes.
Yeah, but you're right. Word of mouth is so powerful. And again, I think that's really what we're trying to do here, by having you on the show and publishing this and getting this out on our social media and hopefully, again, involving our audience in this conversation that we're having. So what are, and Chantel is going to tag along here, but what are some common misconceptions about crime victim services that you'd like to address?
Yeah, and is there a way for anyone to know that you're actually receiving these services, especially to someone who may be against a perpetrator, and like, would they ever find out about that?
First of all of our services are confidential. We are also protected by Privileged Communication Act of Pennsylvania, which means that we can't even talk about our clients or what they share with us, to the point where if we show up, if we're subpoenaed and have to go to a trial, the judges say, thank you, Crime Victim Center employees, you may be dismissed. We will not ever disclose our information unless the client says, you can disclose this portion of it. Okay. And they have to specifically write, I am giving permission to the Crime Victim Center to disclose these statements and nothing else. We don't have that. Our lips are sealed, and no judge will make us testify. That is huge. And that is so important, especially in sexual assault and rape cases, because it is debilitating. Your very soul has been ripped from your body. If you can't talk to somebody who has the ability to keep that in a vault, in a safe, until you decide to share whatever part of it, you're not going to be trusted. You're not going to trust those people enough to then move forward with your healing. So that's absolutely huge. And I'll tell you, we have a lot of sexual assault cases that never want to go through the justice system. They just need to get this horrible trauma off their back, and that's their right. But that is sacred information that is sealed. So that's the first thing. Misconceptions, of course, are victim blaming. Victim blaming is still so awful. Well, why was she wearing that? Well, what were they doing out so late? Well, why didn't that boy defend himself? I taught him how to box. All of those horrible things. And I don't care how big of a guy you are, how tough you are, what kind of a wrestler you might have been in high school. When you are faced with a criminal act, you don't always know how your body's going to react. You may fight back, you may freeze, you may be able to run and somehow escape from that. You don't know how you're going to react. And so it's so wrong for us as a society to say, well, it's their fault. Well, if they didn't live this lifestyle. Well, if their parents weren't drug addicts. Well, those things we have to get rid of. The other thing is we have to believe victims when they come forward. First and foremost, we must believe. Like I said, people don't just make this stuff up. That is a rarity. And the downside is, in the 1 in 10 million times it happens, that's what makes the news. Yeah. And then, everybody's lying. Well, that's just not true. So we have to get away from that. The other thing I would say, and it's much more subtle, is we have to get rid of our own biases. We have to own our biases and then get rid of them. If I'm not a Christian, I need to be able to still serve Christians. If I'm not a person who's been exposed to a diversity of races and cultures, I need to own that and say, okay, these people have value. These are still human beings. I need to be able to trust them and believe them and serve them as a fellow citizen of this community. Those aren't always easy things to do, but when we start looking inward and seeing where we are, we can start serving other people outwardly.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. With the whole Me Too movement, that was something so huge. And I feel like at one point it was like millions of people speaking out against certain things, and men and women,
Yep.
and it was a lot of victim blaming. And you
Absolutely.
had the whole, protesting of that, and just the whole victim
Yeah,
blaming.
and that creates the stigma then when people won't come forward, because I'm going to get laughed at. People are going to blame me. I'm not going to be believed. I'm going to be ridiculed on television, and so then many people won't come forward because of those few stories that make the news.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's, with all of that, that comes out, and that there's powers in numbers to speak up,
There is.
like, if you went through this, like, I can now share my experience. Such a powerful message. I just was really just taking it all in, because it is just, it's so grandiose to think about. Like, we all have preconceived notions or biases, and you have to recognize them, own them, and then, okay,
And
like,
move on.
yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very powerful. So what I want to talk about next are some upcoming initiatives and events. What should people be aware of that's coming up?
So there's a lot of really cool things coming up. We do a lot of hard work. We hear a lot of bad stories, but we also try to have some fun and try to do some positive things. Because, like I said, when we do our job well and people stay in their homes and maintain their marriages and stay in their school, everybody wins. But to do that, we need dollars, right?
Yeah.
So we have a Kentucky Derby Day coming up, which
Ooh.
is the Derby Days May 3rd. It's going to be at the Lenova Aurora. They're hosting us, and it's going to be just a whole lot of fun, a lot of crazy stuff. It's a $20 admission fee, includes a banquet meal, buffet meal, I should say, and it's just going to be really a crazy lot of fun, and raise money for not just us, but for Hope on Horseback, which is an equestrian therapy program that we work with. We have clients who go to that, and so we participate in that. So we're really excited about that, and that tie-in's really great. And Lenova and a lot of the social service clubs are just so wonderful to support the nonprofits in our community. So that's exciting. Our signature event is September 5th. That's a Friday night. It is called Moonlight on the Bay.
It's the most beautiful event.
It
Like,
is
I've
so
seen
much fun.
photos.
Yes, well, you need to come. You need to be there. But it is the Highmark Amphitheater and Liberty Park Arena. We've never done anything that close to the water, so we're super excited to actually be really, really on the bay. And to do that this year. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's a semi-formal, black tie optional kind of event, but a lot of fun. We'll have lots of different food. We'll have music, that sort of thing. But we also do some really highly educational things. So in April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. Those are things that we celebrate in a big way. So we'll have a lot of community events. We'll have pinwheels for prevention for the kiddos. On April 10th, we're going to have a conference for professionals out at Penn West Edinburgh, which the school has been just amazing. Their social work department, their criminal justice department, their nursing and education department have all helped us to come together to say, look, this is important. We have to make this message happen. And again, it's geared towards professionals who work in the field, nurses, advocates, counselors, police officers will all be a part of the education process there. So we don't just raise funds to make sure that we keep the lights on, but we also do a lot of prevention education things for the general community, but also for the professionals that we work with to make sure everybody has the skills and the season that they need to be able to do this work.
Do you need any volunteers for these events?
We love volunteers, and that's where we use them mostly in our events. So, Moonlight on the Bay, absolutely. The Derby, yes. We already had our cornhole competition. That's a winter thing. But all of those events, we always need volunteers, and volunteers to do really the hard stuff. To not just bring people into the event, that's huge. Obviously, you got to have the people there, right? But to set up, to tear down, to clean off tables, those are not always fun things, but they're necessary things to make these kind of events work.
And all of the proceeds, you mentioned the other nonprofit, But all these proceeds go back into programming and education and helping your
Yes,
organization.
all programming and education, and all of it stays in Erie County. We serve Erie County, so I want to express that. When people make donations to us, when people make bequests to us, when people include us in their will, please include us in your will and your final wishes. That money all stays in Erie County for victim services.
It's such a wonderful program, the Crime Victim Center, and all of the people that you help, I'm sure, come in and thank you and give hugs and whatever they need from you. I think you're doing an amazing thing in this community, and so many people rally behind that.
Thank you. And they need, and I need their support. I need every single person's support, because we can actually eliminate crime if we wanted to. We
Yeah.
can eliminate child abuse if we wanted to, but it takes every single reasonable citizen to do the work and to be aware of the work. And by the way, I just want to say that we are as mobile as we possibly can be. So we're not just going to ask you to come to our office. If you can do that on 18th Street, that's fantastic. But we have satellites all around the county, in Corey, in Girard, in Harbor Creek, in Union City, and we want to be as available as we can. We also have a mobile staff, so even if one of those places don't work out, we want to make sure that we get to you in a safe place that we can provide the services.
That's fantastic. And like you said, maybe people can't get to you, but you will get to them.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Paul, our time is just coming to a close. I feel like I could talk with you all day.
Yeah.
I have so many more questions to ask you. So, I do want to have you back on the show again, and we can get through, again, just everything else that Chantel and I want to ask you about this. So, but I want to thank you so much for being here today and sharing this mission and your vision for the future.
Happy to be here. And this is how we get the word out. So
Yes.
thank you guys for having us and making sure the Crime Victim Center's message gets out to a lot of people, and that people use our services when they need to.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Viewers, we've had such a wonderful discussion here today. And like I mentioned, just some really eye-opening, soul-searching and some things that we need to do as a community to come together and really stop crimes and abuse from happening. And together, if we all pull together, we can do that. We can make that happen for Erie County.
Takes a village.
Yes,
So.
it does take a village. I want to thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel today. And until next time, have a great day.